This morning I had the privilege of addressing the Hort Grow Conference of the deciduous fruit growers on a conference themed The Big Thirst. It was an ideal conference for me to address. I'm a hydrogeologist, and the way I describe who I am and what I do is I'm a geologist and my mineral is underground water. So that's what I do. Through this drought, groundwater has come to the fore. Generally it's not a favoured water resource. Surface waters and the construction of dams are far better understood, but groundwater has played a big role in the development of the country as a whole. So for example, the city of Cape Town was founded here because of groundwater that discharges out of Table Mountain. But as the cities have grown bigger and bigger, they've moved to constructing large dams to store water from times of plenty to dry times. This means that groundwater, which is a number of challenges to use it on a large scale, has not become marginalised, but it's a less important resource within this region. It's interesting to note that 13% of all municipal water supply in the Western Cape province comes from groundwater, and that's equivalent to the national average. About 13% of water used in South Africa comes from groundwater. But I took the opportunity today to address the conference on the use of groundwater in a sustainable manner. Many of the delegates at this conference are surface water reliant and not groundwater, but they are now being forced to use groundwater as the dam levels drop and drop and drop, and restrictions are placed on them. We need to remember that there are two sides to this coin. Firstly, the urban sector, and we know the moves that places like the city of Cape Town have done to restrict water use. But we must never forget the restrictions that have been placed on the agricultural sector and the devastating effect that it's had on the economy in that part of our business environment. So what I tried to do today was to give some insight on how to manage your boreholes through using data loggers and the monitoring of water levels over time, understanding that there are limits to how you use groundwater, but if you use it in a scientific manner, it can be turned into a massive asset for the farms. We don't know how groundwater is going to be used over time. When surface water is plentiful again, are people going to move back to surface water because of the advantages that it has in the ease of operation, and is groundwater going to be moved to the side? Is groundwater going to be a resource that's used in the future? We don't know. But the bottom line is that unless we manage it sustainably, we'll never be able to rely on it as a resource. So I tried to leave the delegates with three messages today. One is that groundwater is not this hidden phantom kind of resource. It follows science. And I challenged the delegates to catch up in terms of their farming operations. They've made massive strides in the last 100 years on how they farm and the tools and techniques they used. In the same way, they need to manage groundwater on a scientific basis. We don't need to rely on things like water witching and stocky vases to manage groundwater. If they're going to do that, they're going to stay in that environment. I also informed them that they need to think of groundwater as an asset, the way that they can manage their farms in the future and make sure that their business practices are viable, and that all the people that depend on their farming practices can depend on them in the future. And then I left them with some basic ideas on how to promote a sustainable groundwater use. Thank you very much.